On this edition of Lexington Now, OMAC, Freaky Fridays, and heat safety for your pets. I'm Neil Noah. Welcome to Lexington Now for the week of July 15th, 2024. Operation Making a Change, or OMAC, is a mentorship program for youth and young adults. Founder Gio Gibson fills us in on the details.
My name is Gio Gibson. I'm a community program coordinator for the Lexington Police Department. I'm also the founder of OMAC, Operation Making a Change. OMAC is a mentoring program that focuses on violence prevention, gang prevention, intervention, you name it. The program was started through me, of course. I was actually sitting in a prison cell in 1999, December 31st, for the third time. And I was really starting to wanting to understand, what my purpose was. And so it was in that cell that the concept of OMAC came, by the grace of God, of course. And when I came home from prison in 2003, I spent the next 3.5 years working on myself, and that opened the door for everything that I'm doing now. I grew up in a home of violence, poverty, substance abuse, and so, me having a front row seat of all of that, my curiosity, of course, got the best of me, so I ended up, going down that road of gang life, the addiction with the drugs, the whole criminal element. And so, I was a very young kid at the time. So to me, it's important because, we have to reach these kids at a young age. And I just don't want to see any of these kids or anybody go through the same things that I had to go through.
OMAC is important because it's a lot of younger kids and also teenagers like myself that go through problems or just situations. OMAC helps with that by teaching and influencing the community and other people in the community how to overcome those or challenge those problems or, situations.
So there's different components of OMAC. Number one is we are partners with the Fayette County Public Schools. We go in and we do prevention and intervention. So I will get in contact with a school counselor or the principal, and they will identify kids that could potentially be going down that road that I talked about, earlier. And so I would go into the schools and work with the same kids throughout the entire school year. So that might be 20 kids, 25 kids, third grade, all the way up to the college level. So we're in there building relationships with the kids.
There's a lot of work you do that you have to put into it and stay focused and do a lot of listening. It's fun. You get to do a lot of things, learn a lot of things.
We have something that we can provide that is positive, that is consistent, and something that, I think every kid should be involved in, other than hanging out in the streets or just don't have no type of direction. A lot of kids don't have a lot of positive structure. We could be their first and last meal. So we just want to make sure that these kids know that in this community there's something positive for them to get involved with other than something criminal. What we do also is the after-school part of it. So many years ago, there was a bill passed, I think it was Bill Stented 200, and they were looking for alternatives for kids instead of locking them up. And so OMAC became an alternative to incarceration. So every Tuesday and Thursday from 5 to 7, we will meet with those court-ordered kids here for 12 weeks at a time, 3 times a year. Our kids will come in, they probably had a long day, school, and whatever they got to go through with their families. We have open gyms, so we let the kids shoot basketball, have fun, just run around, just run that steam off. Once we're done with that part, we circle up and just check in with the kids. And then we will come down to the OMAC office and we will have a curriculum, of course, and we will do a topic of the day, whether it's building trust, whether it's gang prevention, whether it's the importance of education, etc. And once these kids are done in this room, we feed the kids dinner. So, and then once that's over, of course, their parents pick them up and we do it again. If they make it through the program, they graduate, and get a certificate of completion, a graduation dinner, and, they can also come back. So even if they graduate, doesn't mean that they have to be done with the program. But a lot of kids come back as leaders. It's not all about how you start, it's about how you finish. So we want to make sure that every kid walks away knowing that they have somebody to come back to. If they ever need letters of recommendations, just need a safe place to come to, we want to make sure that these kids, know and understand that they can always come back to us.
I actually learned a lot from OMAC. I learned that you can always change your life around no matter how hard it is.
I've learned that it's a great opportunity to make a change.
I became the first student of OMAC. A lot of people ask me how it works. Does it work? Well, I'm the living proof of it. I almost gave up on myself. So I would encourage anybody that's out there that's going through whatever they're going through, if you just have that willing mind to get up every day and to make that change, is definitely possible. It may not happen, at a snap of a finger. It was a process for me. So I'm very blessed and thankful just to be where I'm at right now.
The Kentucky Theater's Freaky Fridays film series is continuing this year, and Max Morris tells us what spooky flicks to look for.
My name is Max Morris. I'm the programming coordinator and film programmer here at the Kentucky Theater, which basically what that means is most of the film selection, both the newer films and the older films, is mostly the work I do here. Going into our second round of Freaky Fridays after a very successful first year, and so should be starting next Friday, April 19th, with Holy Mountains, the first of this round of movies. And yeah, when it comes to these Freaky Friday movies, I kind of like, because the thing that makes repertory programming kind of difficult sometimes is most of these movies, unlike new movies, it's one you can find anywhere pretty much on streaming, video or stuff. So I tried to pick movies that I think will provide really fun kind of crowd communal experiences for a lot of these sort of cult movies, so whether it's something really shocking or something funny or something action-packed, I like to pick movies that really go for a good crowd experience that way, to kind of give a benefit over watching them at home. We do kind of cult or midnight movies is kind of what we do generally, but it's everything from like Daisies, it's like a Czech art house movie, to Miss 45, which is a sort of violent revenge movie, anything to Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, which is just kind of a crazy campy comedy. So yeah, it really runs the gamut as far as genre goes. The Kentucky Theater has a very rich history from even back to the 70s, 80s as far as doing like midnight cult films. It was kind of something the theater built a legacy on, starting even back in the 70s, showing these sort of cult midnight movies, and people would come out late. It'd be sort of a very kind of rowdy crowd experience and a lot of fun. And I mean, we always have done Rocky Horror. It's kind of always been a signature of the theater. Every month, last Saturday, we do Rocky Horror, and we've even had sellout shows in the 800-seat theater for that. So yeah, these cult midnight movies have always been a big part of the theater's identity, and that's why we decided, when this new management group took over the theater that I'm a part of about 2 years ago at this point, we decided we'd start doing kind of a planned monthly cult film series, and that's what Freaky Fridays has been. So yeah, this is just the second year of Freaky Fridays, but cult film definitely has a rich history here in the Kentucky Theater. The kind of work is like almost year-round, where I'll just kind of watch movies at home or hear about movies, and I'll take note of them. So I have a very long kind of short list I work from of cult movies all year round, and then whenever it comes around to actually picking the movies, I'll have to, because sometimes with some of these cult films, if they're really obscure, they can be hard as far as finding rights or availability. So I'll usually have a really long list, try to find availability on all of those, and then the actual film selection process is usually just about a month of research and stuff, but it's really a year-round job as far as just keeping an eye out for stuff that I think will be good for the series. KentuckyTheater.org is our website, and that's theater with an R-E at the end, and should be a page for Freaky Fridays, and we'll keep that running pretty much all the time, because every year we're going to refresh with new Freaky Friday picks. But yeah, KentuckyTheater.org is our website, and that's where you can find all the Freaky Friday movies, and tickets should be on sale for all of them year-round, even if you want one for one even early next year. It's never too early to buy tickets, just if you want to reserve your spot. But yeah, KentuckyTheater.org is where you can find any information on that and all kinds of other cool stuff we have coming up. Usually for repertory, we keep it a little cheaper than our regular tickets. So yeah, $6.50 each for all the tickets for Freaky Fridays all year round. It really varies based on the movie, but I would say generally we get a very it's an interesting audience. You get a lot of older audience who have been regulars at the theater since the 80s, 70s, when I said this kind of tradition started of these late night cult movies. So you get kind of that audience. Then you have a lot of UK students. I think with the really Freaky Friday, it's really had a young audience, which is good because we've really kind of expanded. A lot of people coming to Freaky Friday, they'll say, oh, this is my first time at the theater. This is my first time seeing this movie that's one of my favorites on the big screen. So yeah, it's an interesting mix, but I would say it leans towards college age, and UK students tend to be kind of our biggest audience for a lot of those cult movies. Phantom of the Paradise is definitely one of my favorites. It's a Brian De Palma kind of a campy musical with Paul Williams. I'm a big fan of 70s kitsch, and that movie scratches all the right spots as far as that goes. Yeah, and really love that one. And then I really love Spring Breakers too. Harmony Korine, I'm a big fan of his work, and if you've never seen the movie and just kind of seen the trailers and the posters, it's won't spoil anything, but it's definitely not what you'd expect. So yeah, I definitely would recommend that one. But yeah, I love pretty much all of these ones. I'm really happy with this selection, but I'd say if I had to pick a few favorites, yeah, Phantom of the Paradise and Spring Breakers I'm probably most excited for. Thank you to everybody that supported this series so far. If anybody's come out, and if you haven't come out, I definitely recommend checking it out because it's always really fun movies, really fun crowds, and yeah, just really excited to get, again, I do most of the programming here, but this is kind of my favorite series of everything we do just because it's always been the type of movies that I've drawn to, the kind of things that I really got into the theater going experience for. So yeah, just everybody that has come out for these Freaky Fridays, thank you for coming out, and anybody that hasn't, I definitely recommend checking it out. Holy Mountains, the April 19th, starting out there, and that's definitely got some really amazing images that are going to look great on the big screen. It's a 4K new remaster, so yeah, just definitely would recommend checking these out. If you haven't been to the theater, and be a great time to see it first. If you have been to the theater, it's definitely a fun audience. So yeah, just thank you everybody for supporting, and please keep coming out for these. 10 o'clock, it's the third Friday of every month, and yeah, always a fun time.
The heat is on, and we'll tell you how to keep your furry friends safe after this.
Hello everyone, I'm Tiffany Brown, Equity and Implementation Officer in the Mayor's Office and Chair of the A Sense of Place Committee. I'm here today to talk about A Sense of Place, an initiative dedicated to preserving the history of Lexington's rural Black hamlets and celebrating those that remain active today. More than 20 historic Black hamlets have been identified in Fayette County. Most are located in rural areas. Our historic hamlets have been and are home to generations of lived experiences, traditions, and culture. Houses, churches, schools, grocery stores, agricultural enterprises, and lodge halls for community gatherings were found in many hamlets. A Sense of Place is a partnership between community members with direct connection to our hamlets and the city of Lexington. Its goal is to raise awareness about what the hamlets represent and to identify steps that are needed to take to preserve their history. The A Sense of Place Committee includes local historian Yvonne Giles, local historian Calvin Graves, Executive Director of the Lexington History Museum Mandy Higgins, Haydentown resident Dr. Alvin Seals, Haydentown Baptist Church pastor Reverend Leon Slatter, and others. With support from members of the Haydentown community, A Sense of Place is currently raising funds for maintenance updates and programming of the Haydentown Rosenwald School and property located at 705 Hayden Lane. In the early 2000s, members of the Haydentown community worked with the city to preserve the school. In the early 20th century, Rosenwald schools were found across the South, serving rural Black children and families during segregation. Many of the buildings have been destroyed. Lexington is proud that the Haydentown School still stands and wants to preserve the history and significance that so many of these schools have had in our hamlet communities. The funds will complete the restoration of the school and upgrade the historic cemetery and church building. The school will permanently house artifacts that tell the story of Lexington's hamlet. We hope you will join us.
Welcome back to Lexington Now. The dog days are here and it's time to keep cool, and that goes for your pets too. Lex TV's own Tim Gibson joins us with a few tips on hot weather safety.
As the temperature continues to rise, many people are doing more and more outside activities.
And like a lot of us, we like to spend our outdoor time with our pet. But we as humans take all kinds of precautions. Hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, a bottle of water. We sometimes forget about our four-legged friends like Max here, who are wearing a fur coat 24/7.
To get some tips on how to help your pet beat the heat, I stopped by the Shaybell Veterinary Hospital for some advice.
The time that we see the most heat strokes is now, and so you would think June, July, August, but when dogs aren't acclimated to the weather and the weather changes, that's when we start seeing heat strokes. So April, May, I typically see more than the hottest months, which is kind of surprising. And so make sure fresh water is available. Don't keep them out, if it's over 70 or 80, limited exposure. If you have a very active dog, kind of limit their activity in the heat of the day. Brachycephalic dogs, so dogs with squish nose, Bostons, pugs, boxers, they don't handle the heat well. And so I wouldn't take them to the dog park or running or any outdoor activity and, from 10 in the morning till 5 at night on hot days, because they just can't tolerate the heat. In the heat of the day, keeping them on the grass is better than the hot concrete. Some dogs shouldn't be walked in the heat of the day just because it burns their pads, and so definitely stay off the black asphalt. Sometimes concrete is not terribly as hot as black because it doesn't attract the heat, but grass is going to be better for sure. The big thing to watch for is excessive panting is kind of a first sign. So if they can't get comfortable and they're trying to lay down and kicking their feet out and panting a whole lot, they're restless because they're getting overheated. A lot of times their gums will be really pink and injected, and more so than normal. Extreme cases, you'll start seeing vomiting, diarrhea. A lot of times they can have blood pass in their stool. End stages or convulsions can even cause death. And so if you start noticing that, you need to cool your dog off pretty fast and get them to the vet.
And if your pet's like Joey here, who likes to take long summer drives with his head out the window, you gotta make a plan to make sure your pet spends no time in an unattended hot car.
The hot weather becomes crucial time for animal welfare. What you want to make sure you always have handy is extra water for your dogs and cats. If you keep your dogs and cats outside, you want to definitely have an area constructed where they have adequate shade. And it's essential in this time of season not to leave your dogs or cats locked in hot vehicles. A lot of people just want to spend as much time with their beloved pets as possible, so they want to take them on errands with them, which we totally understand. But sometimes you do need to leave your pets at home or with trusted friends and family, because they can overheat really quickly in vehicles, and it is something that we do respond to. So we can potentially go out if your dog is in your car unattended. If you absolutely have to take your dog or cat with you in the car, make sure you have visible food and water present for them. It's not uncommon for us to do a temperature reading inside of a car and it to be above 100 degrees. So it can be extremely hot in there. That's why animals can get into stress a lot hotter, and especially a lot of small breeds that have more breathing issues can get hotter and into stress a lot quicker. So it is something we see very common. So it is important to just leave your pets at home if you can, but if not, always have that food and water available. Every call that we respond to is situational. We do respond to every single complaint that we get. Anything animal related, but especially when it's animal welfare concerns. And it just depends on a lot of different factors, how much history we have with that particular person, what condition their animal is, how bad distress they're in. If it's something that can be fixed through education, we always want to do that. But if it's something that's beyond the point of education, then we do have every right on a cruelty case to issue a charge and seize the animal if we have to do that. But we prefer to work with the public and educate them to try to make sure that if it's a pet that they love, that they keep it home, but in compliance. We rely 100% on the community to call us and tell us whenever they see an animal in distress, in danger, trapped, or possibly being abused. So please call us at 859-255-9033. That's where you'll get to our dispatcher, and we do have an animal control officer working 24/7. You can always visit our website for information, which is www.lfacc.org, or go on our Facebook page, but those are not for emergencies. If you have an emergency with an animal in distress, you should always call us.
Did you know that Lexington has a stormwater grants program? Bailey Young joins us to talk about the program and how to take advantage of its benefits.
Stormwater management is important because as the city continues to develop, more impervious area is added, and so we want to reduce the impervious area, reduce quantity, and enhance quality. Impervious area is any pavement or hard surface that can't infiltrate stormwater. So Lexington has an incentive grant program for infrastructure projects, and so that will be Parcel B projects that include schools, businesses, commercial industry institutions, anything that's non-ag. And so we partner with residents who want to invest into stormwater projects on their property. So we contribute up to $360,000 for the projects, and we ask that residents match at 20%. So right now we're accepting Class B infrastructure project grant submittals, and those are due Friday, July 26th by 4 p.m. So the grants have funded a wide variety of projects over the years, including permeable pavers, stormwater conveyance, stream restoration, rainwater harvesting. So there's really a lot of options. So infrastructure projects are scored based on the reduction of impervious area, as well as the area being treated by the BMP, which could include increasing tree canopy. And we're looking for water quality enhancements, especially if E. coli is targeted. And we normally include an educational component of the project where there's signage put in to describe to others what water quality feature is being shown. We have a little bit over $1.2 million to invest in stormwater infrastructure grants this year for fiscal year 25. We have different categories for our submittals, and so we have projects under 75 grand are all scored together, and feasibility projects, which we give up to 55 grand, are scored together as well. So don't be intimidated if you have a smaller scale project, we're still looking for those too. A feasibility project is where you're doing investigation of the project you would like to do. So you're normally collaborating with engineers and landscape architects and trying to determine what the best solution for your problem would be. So on the city's website, we have the application documents, we have examples and drafts, so you can see exactly what you're looking for, and you can look back at old ones that we've accepted.
Council is on summer break, but we still have some live meeting coverage to tell you about on Lex TV and streaming online. And remember, you can also find the most accurate and up-to-date information on non-televised city business at lexingtonky.gov. Here's this week's meeting coverage. That's all for now, but as always, you can keep up with us on social media. Check out the latest traffic updates on X at LexRex, or catch our live traffic cams on lexingtonky.gov. For all of us at Lex TV, I'm Neil Noah, and that's it for now.